Welcome into Seattle Seahawks Today. I am Tom Downey. Today's video, we're going to update you guys on what's going on in free agency, some Baker Mayfield trade rumors as well. But first, some news for you guys. A new host here at Seattle Seahawks Today. Everyone welcome in Tyler Jones, who you'll see more and more here at Chat Sports, breaking down everything going on around the Seahawks so we can get even more videos for you guys. Tyler, welcome aboard, my friend.
Tom, glad to be here covering the Seattle Seahawks here on Chat Sports. So much going on since the Russell Wilson news went down last week. We'll cover it for you all here on Seahawks Today.
You guys can also follow Tyler, on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live. And while you're following them, maybe they can type in voice in the comments, since that's quite the set of pipes you got over there, Tyler.
I appreciate that, Tom. Check for that blue check mark, and you'll be able to find me there. Certainly would appreciate all the follows and love to hear from all the Seahawks fans everywhere.
All right, it's at Tyler Jones Live on Twitter. And again, shout-outs coming from Tyler tomorrow for those of you who follow him. Let's look now at Baker Mayfield, as that'll be the core of today's show. The rumors continue, Tyler, on a potential Baker Mayfield trade. Before we get into some of your thoughts on why you may or may not want to add Baker, how do you feel, or what's the latest on Baker right now?
Well, Baker has made it known that he wants out of Cleveland, and that was before the Deshaun Watson trade went down. And we're still in the waiting game at this point of what exactly his next destination will be. And when we got the news today that the Indianapolis Colts were bringing in Matt Ryan, that eliminated another possibility, and the Falcons now bringing in Marcus Mariota, it seems like Seattle might be the only option left at this point for Baker Mayfield. And you look at the numbers for Baker Mayfield last year, not a great season by any stretch. He was around 61% completion percentage, over 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 picks. But leading up to this year, he's shown some flashes, shown some promise in the National Football League, I think, Tom.
All right, so Tyler, what do you think here about the idea of adding Baker Mayfield to Seattle? What's your thought process there?
Well, you look at this team, and you need to find your next guy, right, after moving on from Russell Wilson. And we're going to go through step-by-step in just a bit of what those things mean, of why Baker Mayfield makes sense for this franchise. But I would say that you have to look at that he's a young guy, a former number one pick, and still has a lot of good football left in him. It's not over for Baker Mayfield, and you can get him at an affordable rate. We'll talk about that in just a second here. But if you want to chime in, Tom, there's people can join us in the comments.
Yeah, do you guys think Seattle should trade for Baker Mayfield? We're going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. You guys should know the drill by now. Type in T for trade or type in P for pass. The ad break comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know what you're thinking in the comment section. All right, Tyler, run us through your 3 reasons why you think a Baker Mayfield trade makes sense for Seattle.
Well, let's start out with what he has done at this point, right? He was successful at Oklahoma, and the numbers there at Oklahoma, you're talking about a guy that was a Heisman Trophy winner, the only walk-on in college football history to ever go on and win the Heisman Trophy. 2 college football playoff appearances in 2015 and 2017. Both of those seasons were All-American seasons. And Baker has shown some flashes in the NFL. I mean, you look at the numbers. His rookie year set the rookie passing touchdown record with 27 touchdowns. He was the Offensive Rookie of the Year that year, according to Pro Football Focus and Pro Football Talk. And not to mention that he led the Browns to their first playoff win since 1994. Although things have been up and down for Baker Mayfield, you can't ignore what he has been able to do for the Cleveland Browns, of getting them to places that they haven't been in quite some time. Remember, the year that they drafted Baker Mayfield, they were coming off a season where they went winless, and they followed that up by winning 7 games in Baker Mayfield's rookie year, only to make the playoffs and win a playoff game a year later. You look at the statistics for Baker in his 4 seasons. Rookie year, 27 touchdowns, 14 picks. Second season, numbers were down to 22 touchdowns, and interceptions were up to 21. That third season, though, I think is that silver lining that gives people hope and promise that Baker Mayfield could potentially play at a high level in this league, when you see that he had 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 picks. Last year, playing with that injured shoulder, if he can get healthy and move on past that, I think that you could talk about Baker Mayfield getting back to those 2020 numbers again.
We're going to talk more here about Baker Mayfield, but first, make sure you guys are subscribed. Brought on Tyler to give you guys even more Seahawks videos here as this hopefully becomes one of the biggest and brightest channels at Chat Sports. We need your help. Subscribe, youtube.com/Seahawks TV for even more free Seahawks videos. Now, Tyler, you think Baker is a good fit for what the Seahawks want to do on offense. Why is that?
Well, look at what Seattle has done with a shorter quarterback and Russell Wilson over the last decade plus, right? They have been there, done that before under Pete Carroll with a small quarterback, and that's what you would be getting in Baker Mayfield, similar to Russell Wilson in that sense. But a new offensive coordinator in Seattle this year, Shane Waldron, comes over from the Los Angeles Rams, and he's going to run a system similar to what Baker ran in Cleveland under Kevin Stefanski, and I think that bodes well for Baker to come into an offense that he should be able to learn pretty quickly. He's had a lot of different offensive coordinators over his career, and this one seems to be one that I think Baker could pick up pretty fast in that sense. You look at what Bill Barnwell said about Baker Mayfield and the potential of him in Seattle. He said, I have to believe that Mayfield's on-field intangibles and desire to play through last year's shoulder injury appeal to Carroll. Mayfield seemingly has to manufacture doubters to play at his best, and after being forced out in Cleveland, putting him in the position of replacing a Hall of Fame quarterback, caliber quarterback in Seattle, would give him an almost unlimited well of motivation. Barnwell went on to say the scheme is a good fit for Mayfield, who would be playing in a version of the same Kubiak-Shanahan offense he ran under Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland over the past couple of seasons. While he didn't look great in that scheme by the end of 2021, some of his best football came out of this offense in 2020. So now you look at this team, and I think that because of the weapons that Seattle has offensively with DK Metcalf, with Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, they have some weapons that are very suitable that I don't think you need to rebuild this offense. I think you need a veteran quarterback to get the job done for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think that Drew Lock is that guy, but I think Baker Mayfield can be that guy, Tom.
I have called Drew Lock Tank Commander many a time here, and I will continue to call him that. And I totally agree on your third point. I don't think Drew Lock is the guy in Seattle, and we'll get to some quotes here in a little bit from Pete Carroll, which I have thoughts on, but we want to hear from you guys first and foremost. Is Drew Lock the guy in Seattle? Sound off for us in the comment section. Why for yes and for no. Here's what Pete Carroll had to say when asked about Drew Lock. If he plays like he did early on, I think we got a shot. You go back to his first year when he was balling as a rookie. He was 4-1. His third down numbers were terrific, really taking care of the football. Taking the football really well. Just didn't, for whatever reason, the coordinator left after that time. The times changed for him. He didn't play to that same level. So exactly what we have evaluated, the process that we evaluated, he showed. We still think he's that guy, so we'll see. And I'm curious what you think on my thought here, Tyler. That's the problem, because he wasn't actually that good that year. They just won football games, not because of Drew Lock, because of the defense. And that is not indicative of the guy to me.
Right. I look at Drew Lock, a guy that has arm strength. He has some natural abilities there, but the accuracy just hasn't been with Drew Lock throughout his career. I believe we have Drew Lock's numbers that we can show you right now of his time in Denver, and 21 games played, a less than 60% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns. That's nearly a pick in every game that he has started there in Denver, and he had guys that he could work with. There was some very good receiving talent, including Noah Fant, who's now going to be in Seattle as well, but it just never really quite worked out for Drew Lock there in Denver, and I have no reason to think that it would work otherwise in Seattle for him either.
Yeah, now we got a deal for you guys here. We're going to talk more about what a trade could look like for Baker Mayfield, but if you want a custom Seahawks hoodie, we got a deal for you guys on sale today only at chatsports.com/SEA Custom. You can put your own name, a player's name, and it actually looks pretty damn great. So check that link in the comment section and the description. Today deal only at chatsports.com/SEA Custom. Let's talk now about a hypothetical Baker Mayfield trade. I wonder if the value begins to go down more and more here, Tyler, in light of the lack of other teams in the market for a QB of Baker Mayfield's stature here. Two trade ideas I want to get to, and I want to get your thoughts on both of them. The first one from Bill Barnwell. I mentioned him earlier. Seahawks, of course, get Baker Mayfield. The Browns get a third-round pick next year. What do you think of that trade?
I like that deal. And compared to the deal that we're about to show you here in just a moment, it's not as messy as the other option of getting late-round picks involved here. I like it that it's just up front. You give up that third-round pick for a former number 1 overall pick who's going into his 5th year. He's going to cost about $18 million this next year. And at the end of the day, if you don't like Baker, if you don't want to give him a longer contract, then you lose a third-round pick. I would be more than willing to take that chance of giving up a third-round pick to see what you can get out of a potential franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield.
More and more buzz that maybe the Browns are not going to have any major market for Baker Mayfield, which would mean an issue with his contract being fairly expensive. So Field Goals has put together a Brock Osweiler kind of sort of trade. Messy is a good way to describe it here. A 2nd and a 5th this year and next year plus Baker to Seattle. A 2nd next year and a 5th this year to the Browns. This is very messy from a trade value standpoint. Seattle is actually getting more value from the draft picks alone. In general, future picks are worth 1 round less. So think of it as a 2nd this year, a 6th as well, and a 5th this year and a 3rd next year. So that is a nobody wants Baker. Seattle takes the contract. Browns save the money. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that one, if you're the Browns and they're in, I think you would be pretty pleased if that's what you can get for him on that front. For Seattle, exchanging these picks here, having to wait on that 5th-round pick and getting that 2nd-round pick in this situation here. I think that in the Seahawks case, you would feel okay with this, but either way, you could potentially get your guy with this and not give up a whole lot. I think that's the main takeaway when this is all said and done, is that Seattle in either scenario, if they made this trade for Baker even a week or two ago, I think that value would have cost them a lot more.
Agreed.
This is kind of a bargain shopping that they're on right now, finding that Sam's Club deal here with getting Baker Mayfield potentially.
All right, so what is the most that you would give up for Baker Mayfield? Sound off for us in the comments section. Maybe it's a draft pick. Maybe it's a player. Let me know in the comments the most you would be willing to give up for Baker Mayfield. All right, before we go, let's run through some free agency tracker moves that impact the Seattle Seahawks here. That's Gerald Everett, Lyle Collins, and Trent Brown, a former Seahawk, and, of course, a tackle that the team had been linked to as well. Gerald Everett, 2 years, $12 million. Tyler, what are your thoughts on losing him to the Chargers here?
Well, I think if you're the Seahawks, you would have liked to keep him. He wasn't going to cost you a whole lot here, and this Chargers team continues to build. They have made some great moves, bringing in the likes of Khalil Mack and company there in Los Angeles, and this one to me, I would have liked to seen him back in Seattle, but we'll see where he goes, as far as with Noah Fant taking over that role.
And they paid Will Dissly big money.
Right.
More than what they gave Everett, or Chargers gave Everett, I should say.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think it is replaceable in a sense, but you do think about that you weren't going to have to pay him that much to keep him.
Seahawks missed out on 2 linemen they were connected to as well, Lyle Collins and Trent Brown. More thoughts on what's Seattle going to do next on the offensive line for you, Tyler?
It's got to be in the draft. Right? I mean, that offensive line needs some help. They need some work there. And I think that you didn't get these guys. You don't want to put that money up front, but now you got to hope that you can find those guys in the draft. And I would expect Seattle to be aggressive pretty early on, be getting day 1, day 2 potentially on those offensive line spots. We saw Russell Wilson running for his life all season. You don't want to make that happen again.
No, you don't. All right, so the Seahawks do have some money if they want to spend. So our last question of the day, name a free agent you guys want the Seahawks to still sign Drop a name or names if you want to be an overachiever in the comments right now.